So rates, as expected, on hold from the Reserve Bank. So that decision just down. So interest rates are on hold, the cash rate at 4.1%, but it really doesn't let up the pressure that Michele Bullock and the board are going to have in the near term. So the point about this is going to be the reaction from the money markets and also even some of the language as well from the Reserve Bank, just to see what sort of messaging the new governor of the Reserve Bank is going to bring around the whole question of interest rates, which is so sensitive to so many in Australia, Kieran.
Indeed, and the RBA under Lowe and now I presume a continued focus to be patient. That was the word that Governor Lowe used, but you still see the dollar at record lows. Our friend Warren Hogan from Judo Bank believes that the governor should have moved now. He thinks that inflation is too sticky. But everyone, as you say, will be reading the statement to see what hints there are for the future, Ross.
Yes, and indeed, just having a quick glance at this statement now, I always go to the last paragraph. That's the one that pretty much tells you as to where they're trending in terms of future interest rates. So here it is. Some further tightening of monetary policy may be required to ensure that inflation returns to target in a reasonable time frame. So effectively, they're using the same language that was used under Philip Lowe as they're using today to give guidance as to where they might go in the future. That will depend on data and the evolving assessment of risks. Effectively, what they're saying is that the recent data is consistent with inflation returning to 2 to 3% over the forecast period. So remember that they were prepared to really wait in some ways to try and maintain full employment in Australia. And as we know, the mandate for the Reserve Bank is going to go from purely targeting inflation and trying to maintain stability in Australia's economy to in the future being equally split between trying to keep as many jobs as possible in our economy and also that fight for inflation. And many people say that could be one of the real dilemmas for the Reserve Bank into the future, is trying to balance up those two objectives, which sometimes can be at odds with each other. And that's the reason why some of this messaging coming out of the Reserve Bank and the new governor is going to be vital in terms of people trying to understand, A, where their loans might go in the future, and B, exactly when you might start to see some relief from these recent rate hikes.
And so with this decision, Ross, what's been the immediate market reaction?
We can have a look at this. I would suggest it's going to be pretty muted given the fact that there is no surprise in this. But if we go through the markets right now, pretty much if we look at some of these things, have a look at this, say, for example, the stock market, which had been down by around 1.16%. That's pretty steady in terms of where it was. So as I say, the stock market, really not much reaction there at all. If we keep on going through some of these, you can actually see that even the Australian dollar, which had been sitting around about 63.44, right now, 63.44 US cents, again stable. The one-year bond, this is going to be pretty critical, 4.22%. Now, that's been creeping higher with these forecasts that maybe there is going to be another interest rate rise this year. And the longer-term bond is the one that you've got to watch here, because around the world, these bond yields have been rising. So long-term interest rates rising fast. That's almost a pointer to a recession in the United States. But even here in Australia, that's the thing that's putting pressure on interest rates here. But just a reminder now that interest rates here in Australia, for the time being at least, on hold, the cash rate 4.1%.